Today's lesson is Nature Finds a Way with the Pizzly Bear. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to talk about something called the Pizzly Bear, which I've never heard of. This sounds silly. It sounds ridiculous. What the heck is a Pizzly Bear? We're going to find out in today's program because nature finds a way. It figures things out and things work out in the end.
That's right. Nature always has a solution for continuing on, for growing. Sometimes when you look at an abandoned house, a house that's been abandoned for ages, you'll see perhaps a tree growing out of it or flowers growing on the roof. So nature always finds a way to thrive, to continue.
And that sort of resulted in a new hybrid of bear called the Pizzly Bear, which we'll find out in today's lesson. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's listen to the first part, and we'll come right back.
Nature finds a way with the Pizzly Bear. In 2006, a hunter in the Canadian Arctic thought he'd shot and killed a polar bear, but a close inspection revealed something different. Instead of the white fur and long face of a polar bear, this bear had a shorter face and patches of brown fur. The hunter had unintentionally shot the first documented Pizzly bear.
大家好，第一部分我们可以看到名词 inspection， 它的意思是检查、审视或是检阅。例如 I drove my truck to the shop for a safety inspection. 我把我的卡车开去店里做安全检查。又或者说The police need to look inside the car, but the inspection won't take very long. 警方必须检查车子的内部，但是不会耗时很久。再看一个例子 Close inspection of the house revealed water leakage in the basement. 在仔细检查房子后，发现地下室有漏水。另外，这个字去掉字尾 ion 就会变成动词 inspect， 有检视或是检查的意思。例如Rachel inspected the silk scarf for damages before buying it. Rachel 买丝巾前先检查有没有毁损。或是 The chef inspected each apple for soft spots before he bought them. 那位厨师在买苹果前检查每一颗是否有软烂的地方。再来我们介绍名词 patch， 它指的是与周围不同的小块或是斑。例如 There is a patch of grass in the yard that has turned yellow. 院子里有一片草地已经变黄了。或者 Josh wants to use the patch of land behind his house to grow vegetables. Josh 想用他家后面的那块地来种菜。接着我们看到副词 unintentionally， 它的意思是无心的或是非故意的。举例来说 The boys unintentionally caused a forest fire when they were camping. 当男孩们露营时，他们无意中造成了森林大火。又或者说 Megan unintentionally injured her finger when she was sewing. Megan 在缝东西的时候无意间伤到了手指。
So in the title of today's lesson, we have the word Pizzly or Pizzly Bear, but we're not going to define that term right now because we'll find out soon what a Pizzly Bear is. In 2006, a hunter in the Canadian Arctic thought he'd shot and killed a polar bear, but a close inspection revealed something different. So we're talking about something that happened in 2006, and in that year, a hunter in the Canadian Arctic. Arctic here refers to the North Pole or areas that are close to the North Pole. So it's an area in Canada that's close to the North Pole. And this hunter there was hunting and he thought he had killed a polar bear because polar bears are very usual in those parts of the world. But when he looked closer upon close inspection, he discovered that it wasn't actually a polar bear. It was something very different.
Right, so the hunter was out in the cold there and pointed his rifle at this bear. That looks like a polar bear. I think I'll pull the trigger. So he hunted that bear and he killed it. And then he went up to the carcass, to the body of the bear. And a close inspection of the body of the bear revealed something different. Now, here we've got the word inspection. That's the noun form of the verb to inspect. And inspection is a close examination of something. When you see something, you get up close to it and you study it and you try to figure out what it is. And, of course, the verb is to inspect, like we have people who work for the police department who are trying to solve a crime. These are inspectors who go out and ask questions and try to figure out who committed the crime.
Yes, and sometimes restaurants have to close temporarily because they don't pass health inspections. And the health inspector says, we're going to fine you, so you have to close for a month or 2 months or whatever. And here, the hunter closely inspected the carcass, the dead animal, and saw something surprising. Instead of the white fur and long face of a polar bear, this bear had a shorter face and patches of brown hair.
Right, so he was expecting to see white fur and a long face, but instead of those two characteristics, he saw that it had a shorter face and patches of brown fur. So instead of just means in place of, he did not see the white fur and long face, but rather he saw this shorter face and small areas of brown fur. That's what a patch is. A patch can also be something that you sew on your clothing for decoration or something like that. It's got a design or something, maybe like the ROC flag or the peace sign or whatever, if you know what that is. But in any case here, it had patches or small areas of brown fur. And as you know, polar bears don't have patches of brown fur. That's kind of unusual, and the hunter had unintentionally shot the first documented Pizzly bear. So if something's unintentional, you did not intend to do it, you did not mean to do it, you did not want to do it. It was not your plan.
Right. I could say, for instance, I know I made you angry, but I did so unintentionally. I didn't do it on purpose. And this hunter didn't want to shoot the first documented Pizzly bear, but he did it. He did it unintentionally.
Exactly. So now he's famous perhaps for the wrong reasons. And now we're going to move on to the second part and continue talking about what the heck a Pizzly bear is.
A Pizzly is a cross between a polar bear and a grizzly bear, or brown bear, and scientists believe these hybrids exist due to climate change. As temperatures in the Arctic rise and the ice there thins, polar bears are forced further south to look for food, while grizzly bears can wander further north. This has set the stage for breeding between the two species, and although the number of Pizzly, or growler bears, is relatively low at present, their appearance might mean that the end of polar bears is drawing near.
第二部分我们介绍片语 draw near， 它的意思是渐渐接近或是逐渐靠近。例如 The lights in the store went out just as I drew near. 正当我渐渐靠近时，店里的灯光熄灭了。又或者说 Jessica became nervous as the test day drew near. 随着考试日期逐渐到来 Jessica 开始变得紧张。
A Pizzly is a cross between a polar bear and a grizzly bear or brown bear, and scientists believe these hybrids exist due to climate change. So now we know what a Pizzly bear is. The word Pizzly is a combination of grizzly and polar. So it's a polar grizzly bear or a Pizzly bear. And this type of bear is a hybrid. A hybrid is an animal or a plant that has been produced from two different types of animals or plants. And we also use the word hybrid today to describe some vehicles that are powered by two different sources. For instance, a hybrid vehicle can be both an electric vehicle and one that's powered by petrol.
So that's a hybrid. It's a mix of one thing and another. As a person who likes to ride bicycles, a popular format of bicycle is the hybrid bicycle. It's kind of a mix between a road bicycle and a mountain bicycle. That's what a hybrid is. Or if you're growing corn, of course, sometimes the seeds can be hybrids, different kinds of corn mixed together to have higher yields when you plant the corn and when you harvest the following autumn. But yes, indeed, these hybrids of bears, this mix of bears, exist because of climate change. Let's explain this further. It says, as temperatures in the Arctic rise and the ice there thins, polar bears are forced further south to look for food. So, of course, we've got higher temperatures, and that causes the ice in the Arctic area to melt. And the polar bears, of course, are forced to go farther south to look for food. And then we've got grizzly bears who normally live farther south, and they're looking for food, so they start going north. And then these two kinds of bear run into each other. Maybe they fight each other, but then sometimes a boy meets a girl and he thinks, I don't mind that you're a grizzly bear. Let's get together.
Yes, and this situation has set the stage for breeding between the two species. And although the number of Pizzly or Growler bears, so Growler here also refers to the hybrid of polar and grizzly bears, is relatively low at present. There aren't many Pizzly or Growler bears existing. Their appearance might mean that the end of polar bears is drawing near. So a long time ago, polar bears lived in the north and grizzlies in the south, but because of climate change and because temperatures are changing, these two species of bears are coming closer together in terms of their habitats. And this meeting has set the stage for breeding. To set the stage for something means to create the conditions in which something is likely to happen. So climate change created the condition for the two types of bears to meet and to mate.
Right, so the polar bears are moving south and the grizzly bears are moving north, and they're coming in contact more often. Sometimes they're fighting, as I said, but sometimes they're getting together to breed. And this has set the stage for breeding between the two species. And although the number of Pizzly or Growler bears is relatively low at present, their appearance might mean that the end of polar bears is drawing near. So yes, indeed, we don't really have a large number of Pizzly bears or Growler bears. The number is still pretty low at this particular time, but the fact that these kinds of bears are starting to appear, that we can see them now, that could spell the end of polar bears. The end is drawing near, or it's becoming closer. And I can think of a similar example here in Taiwan. We've got the light-vented bulbul, and then there's another kind of bird called the Utowong. There's the Baitowong and the Utowong. Evidently, the Baitowong is interbreeding with the Utowong, and the latter is declining in population as a result.
So it seems like a situation that's happening quite often in different places around the world. Here, the phrase draw near or drawing near is used to signify something that's going to happen pretty soon or not long before something will happen. I could say, for instance, that summer is drawing near. We only have a few months before warmer temperatures will arrive, and I'm looking forward to the summer, and the summer is drawing near.
Yeah, I like summer better than winter for sure. Even though it's quite hot, I don't mind the hot weather. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's continue talking about the Pizzly bear or the Growler bear, whatever term you choose to use.
While polar bears are forced to find new food sources and deal with habitat loss, the Pizzly bear might just evolve into an entirely new species in the future. Pizzly bears have sharper claws and stronger teeth than polar bears because the latter mostly eat seal blubber. These advantages mean that Pizzly bears might be better adapted to the new, warmer environment, potentially replacing polar bears someday.
最后第三部分我们看到单字 habitat， 它是名词，指的是动植物的栖息地或是生长地。例如That animal's natural habitat is slowly being destroyed by humans. 那种动物的自然栖息地正慢慢的被人类破坏。或是 If more houses are built on this land, animals in the area will lose their natural habitat. 如果这片土地上建造了更多的房屋，这个地区的动物将会失去它们的自然栖息地。最后一个例子 This forest provides a habitat for numerous species of birds. 这片森林为多种鸟类提供了栖息地。
While polar bears are forced to find new food sources and deal with habitat loss, the Pizzly bear might just evolve into an entirely new species in the future. It seems like polar bears are disappearing because they have to deal with habitat loss. Habitat refers to a place where a particular animal usually lives or a place where a plant usually grows. And since polar bears have to deal with habitat loss, they might be disappearing as well. And with the disappearance of polar bears, Pizzly bears might become a new species.
Right, so we're going to get more and more Pizzly bears. And that might mean that there will be fewer and fewer polar bears, and they might eventually go extinct, and we'll only be left with Pizzly bears or grizzly bears. We're not sure about the conservation status of grizzly bears at the moment, but again, they're dealing with habitat loss. They don't have places to live. And we're talking about evolution here. If you evolve into something, you become something as the result of evolution. And that, of course, happens with animals all the time. And Pizzly bears have sharper claws and stronger teeth than polar bears because the latter mostly eat seal blubber. So, of course, the Pizzly bear is probably stronger and more fierce than polar bears because they have sharper claws. Claws are those sharp things that extend from the feet of bears or cats or dogs. So, of course, if a cat scratches you, it will use its claws and it might cause you to get cut or something like that. So, again, these Pizzly bears will have sharp claws which can cut into other animals, and they'll also have stronger teeth than polar bears. Because the later one we mentioned, the polar bears, just eat seal blubber, and I guess they don't need to have sharp claws to cut into seals to eat their blubber.
It seems that Pizzly bears have some advantages over polar bears, and these advantages mean that Pizzly bears might be better adapted to the new, warmer environment, potentially replacing polar bears someday. So these Pizzly bears have some advantages, and these advantages include sharper claws, and this means that they are able to kill animals for food, and this means that they will be better adapted to new and warmer environments. When you are adapted to something or better adapted to something, it means that you are suitable or more suitable for a particular situation. Many plants in Taiwan, for instance, are adapted to tropical or subtropical weather. And if you took these plants to a drier climate or a colder climate, then this plant would not be able to survive.
Right, so they're better able to survive in a warmer climate or a warmer environment, and that will potentially replace polar bears someday. So potentially means it could possibly happen in the future, and we've got this new kind of bear that's probably superior to the polar bear, and they're going to be in competition with each other, and polar bears will probably run out of seal blubber to eat. Blubber, by the way, is the fat from sea animals such as seals or whales. And yes, indeed, they'll probably run out of food. They'll face starvation, and we'll just have this new bear species up there in the Great White North and probably in other parts of the world as well. So that's what's going to happen. Those polar bears might disappear someday. You never know.
That's right. And there's the saying, survival of the fittest. In other words, animals that can survive changes in the environment and changes that were caused by humans will be the ones who will be more powerful and survive into the future, whereas the ones who can't, like polar bears, might just become extinct one day.
Personally, I think more Canadian hunters should go up there and kill those Pizzly bears because I don't want to see the end of polar bears. I think they're kind of cute when they're all white like that. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Let's turn things over now to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny， 今天要来练习克漏字题型。那我们来看文章的5个题目。第一题他说 The hunter had unintentionally shot the first Pizzly bear。这名猎人不小心射杀了第一只 空格北极灰熊。那从空格前方的 the first 以及空格后方的名词 Pizzly Bear， 我们可以推测空格里面要填入一个形容词。不过题目4个选项都是 ed 结尾的动词，这表示呢，它就是要用过去分词来当形容词用。我们就先来看看选项 A。Documented， 好 ，document 当作动词念作 document， 它就可以表达记录、记载的意思。那么 B，excluded， 这个 exclude 这个动词它表示将什么排除在外，不包括什么什么。C，manipulated， 当我们用 manipulate 这个动词就可以表达操纵或者是控制、摆布的意思。D，underlined。那这个 underline 这个动词就表示在下面划线啊、强调或者是凸显的意思。我们从语义上来看，选项 A documented 比较适合，可以用来形容是被记录下来的。所以 the first documented Pizzly Bear 就是表达第一只被记录下来的北极灰熊。那其他像是被排除在外的啊、被操纵控制的啊、被划底线的这些语义都不符合，我们就不能选啦。好，第二题 A Pizzly is a cross between a polar bear and a grizzly bear or brown bear, and scientists believe these hybrids exist 空格 climate change。北极灰熊是北极熊和灰熊或棕熊的混种，而科学家认为这些杂交种是空格气候变迁而存在。这题考我们片语接系词，来看选项 A except for 表示除了点点点以外没有什么什么。B in contrast to 表示与什么相较之下，与什么形成对比。C due to 表示因为由于。D on behalf of 是指代表，可能像是代表某人啊，代表某个团体组织等等。我们从语义上来看，课文应该是要表达这些杂交种是因为气候变迁而存在。如果继续往下阅读，也会发现课文它有解释北极的气温上升、冰变薄如何导致这两个物种的繁殖，所以我们这题答案就是选 C due to 会比较适合。好，第3个题目是 This has set the stage for 空格 between the two species， 这导致了这两个物种的空格。那句子里面用到 set the stage for， 字面意思是为什么什么来设置舞台，那是用来表达为什么做好准备，使什么成为可能。那么空格接在 for 的后方，我们就可以推测空格里面应该填入名词或者是动名词咯。我们来看看选项 A advance， 它表示进展、进步或前进。B breeding 表示繁殖。C selection 是选择挑选。D difference 表示区别差别。那这个段落是在解释气候变迁促成了北极灰熊的存在。我们从语义上来看，最适合答案就要选 B breeding， 就是表达这导致了这两个物种的繁殖。再来看第4题，他说While polar bears are forced to find new food sources and deal with habitat loss, the Pizzly bear might just 空格 an entirely new species in the future. 北极熊被迫寻找新的食物来源，且要面对栖息地的丧失，而北极灰熊或许在将来会空格完全不同的物种。这边考我们动词用法，来看选项 A get over 表示克服，像是克服困难啊，它还可以表达释怀啊、恢复等等的意思。好，那么 B settle for 表示勉强接受或是将就的那种意思。C go with 它是表达选择。那么 D evolve into 表示进化、演变成什么什么。从语义上来看，最适合的选项是 D evolve into。那么 evolve into an entirely new species 就可以表达进化成完全不同的物种，其他3个选项语义都不符合。好，在第5题是 These advantages mean that Pizzly bears might be better adapted to the new warmer environment, potentially 空格Polar bears someday。 这些优势表示北极灰熊也许更能适应较温暖的新环境，有一天可能会空格北极熊。那我们来看选项 A replacing， B replace， C will replace， D replaced。好，这题是考我们动词的语法。从句子的结构来看 potentially 前方少了主词和连接词，那我们可以推断说 potentially 空格 polar bears someday 这部分是分词构句，也就是说空格里面的动词就要用分词来表示咯，所以我们只能选 A replacing 或者是 D replaced。 那么接着就是要判断，主动的话我们是要选现在分词，表示被动的话呢是选择过去分词。那由于它省略的主词是 Grizzly Bears 北极灰熊，那语义上是要表达说北极灰熊有一天可能会取代北极熊，这是主动语态，所以我们答案就是选 A replacing。 好，那以上是今天的讲解，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Inspection. The police performed a close inspection of the crime scene to look for clues. Patch. The cat slept in a patch of sunlight beneath the window. Unintentionally. Charles unintentionally cut his finger when he was chopping vegetables. Habitat. Grass plains and various types of forests are among the natural habitats of tigers. Claw. The eagle used its claws to grab a fish from the lake. Adapted. Desert plants are adapted to survive in very hot and dry conditions.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.